By calling for your freedom, I will set me free from separation and distortion of reality. Oh, Palestine, I will free you, you will free me.
Palestine, oh Palestine, by calling for your freedom, I will set me free from separation and destruction of humanity, from separation from my soul. Oh, Palestine, it's all or nothing at
Palestine, oh Palestine, by calling for your freedom, I will set me free from separation and distortion and addiction to illusion, occupation and distraction of humanity. Oh, Palestine, I will free you, you will free me. Palestine, oh Palestine, by calling for your freedom, I will set me free from separation and distortion of reality. From separation from my soul. Oh, Palestine, it's all or nothing at all. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys. I really feel so privileged, to have experienced this really private little concert. So,
of audience among our society.
No, not crowds and crowds of people coming to
Yeah.
see us perform.
No.
Sure.
soon, inshallah. But anyway, hey, really, that was a privilege. Thank you, Elik, and thank you, Aya. I can call you Aya, right? Because it's Ayelet, but it's also you get by Aya. What a beautiful way to start. I mean, it's the first time in my last, I don't know, ever that I start the podcast with a song. I should do it more often. Unfortunately, I mean, some of the people I interview, like lawyers and stuff, they're really amazing, but they can't sing at all. I'm sure they wish they could, but I mean, there's so much in the song.
They're lawyers.
It's something that Elik and I talked about today of like, what is our role? What is our, what can we use our gifts, you know, to end occupation or to fight for liberation? And it's like, there's people who are, you know, human rights lawyers and activists, and there's people who are organizers, and there's people who have like these really amazing powers to do amazing things. And Elik and I, sometimes I wish I was this like great organizer, and I was this like, you know, the person marching in all the demonstrations every day. But like, we find that our power that comes also naturally to us, and also I feel like comes out very good into the world, is our music, is our art, is our voices. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, every person has their role to play, if they choose so. You know, some people choose to use their powers for destruction, sadly.
Yeah, and I discovered you guys through the genocide song, this song that you recorded. I can't remember actually. When did you record it? Was it
in July?
Okay, in July.
In the summer.
2024, and I loved it. And it's hard to love, you know, something that is so deep, and it's unfortunately, I wish it wasn't necessary. You know, I wish you didn't record this song, obviously, but it was such a brilliant song, and I wanted to talk to you because obviously, with what's happening in Palestine, what's been happening in Palestine for the last more than 70 years, we wish that the sort of Israeli society would, I mean, it's hard because I know how difficult it is, but we would wake up and realize that, as you say in the song, you know, freeing Palestine will free all the people that live in this part of the world, call them Israelis or not, you know, but unfortunately, and you will tell me if I'm wrong, and I've been working on the issue of Palestine for nearly 20 years now. Wow. And I've seen sometimes glimpses of a potential movement, but in the last few years, I keep telling my friend, and you know, what about the Israeli left? What about? I'll say, oh, I know all of them. There's like 5 of them, you know, or, you know. But anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about this, and like first, maybe like I don't even know where are you guys? Where are you located?
Where
like,
are we right now?
Yeah,
we're in Jerusalem, in the house of my parents,
okay,
which ironically is an old Palestinian home that my parents bought around 25 years ago. And it's this high-ceilinged, beautiful, big house that they were able to purchase with like inheritance money. And my whole life I was told, yeah, this is an Arab home, like, and I thought that meant that it's like an architectural thing, and it has like 2 big palm trees in the entrance, and this big garden, and it's very beautiful. And this whole neighborhood here in Jerusalem has all these like old Arab homes that now Ashkenazi Jews live in. And only, I think in the past 2 years, I sort of wrapped my brain around the fact that this used to be someone else's home, and it wasn't built for Jews. It was a Palestinian person's home, and they had to leave. Obviously, they fled in the war, you know, in the War of Independence, in the 48 war. And learning this, you know, in history class in high school, it was like, oh, and they ran away, and that was a good thing, you know, because then the Jewish forces came and we conquered the neighborhood and we won, and now we live here and it's great. And it's like, and now I'm like, no, someone used to live here. This was someone's home, and now we live here. And I don't know who used to live here. Like, there's no, you know, sign that says here used to live this person once upon a time, and now we live here. Like, because that's like the movement that's been happening in Germany since the 80s of like documenting and putting little, stones near the houses of Jews where Jews used to live and were deported during World War II. And it's obvious that now there's someone else's lives there, or it's a department store or whatever, but it's like it's a huge project of documenting. And the fact that we live here, and I don't know who used to live here, is kind of haunting me all the time. Yeah.
I'll let you come in, Elik, but the opposite has been happening in Israel since the creation of Israel, right? When they had this like village committee, and Ben Gurion asked people to say, look at all these Arab names, you're going to delete them, and you're going to have to find Hebrew names for all the cities and towns of historic Palestine. But Elik. So anyway, I'm so interested in both your journeys, because we know how difficult it is when you are part of a whole society. I mean, it's hard when you're part of a 10 people group, right? To say, I don't agree with you. But when we're talking about millions of people and the education system and the media, it's a lot harder. So Elik, I'll let you come in, and I want to ask you both, but maybe Elik, were you both born in Israel, Palestine?
So I'm also from Jerusalem originally, and I didn't grow up in a Palestinian home, but it was a Palestinian neighborhood in East Jerusalem, not East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. And I grew up in kind of, liberal Zionist household. So like it's the process that you have to do. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it's even more difficult in a way, because you've sold this nice package that it's actually you can be both, believe in human rights and and in universal values and be Zionist, like kind of, and it's a whole system that makes you believe in that. And it's really hard to give that up. It's really hard. Like I'm still in a way like I feel like de-Zionizing myself is an ongoing process, And it's hard exactly because of this thing, because when you face it, like, what does that mean? Does it mean that we all have to go away? Does it mean that we all have to go back to Europe or where we came from, or to other Arab countries where there is, like, it raises difficult questions that there is no easy answers, like, I wish I could just say, yeah, but everything is solved, but you need to face it, and when you're still holding to Zionism, you don't face this question. You don't think, actually the people that maybe lived in this house, maybe they still live somewhere. Maybe they want to go back to their own home. Maybe they don't want just a sign in the door,
Yeah.
And it's their house. What do we do? But like, it's I don't know, it's the questions that the settler and the colonizers have to face if they examine reality honestly. And it's not easy.
Did you guys do your, I don't know how old you guys are, but did you do your military service or not?
Yes.
Both of you, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering, so I'll go back to you were saying, Elik, you were born in kind of a liberal Zionist family, and I don't know about you, but what's the process been like from a very early age? Were you conscious that something was wrong in a way, that other people lived where you lived, that there was a system of segregation very early on, or was this a process? Because I'm not sure if you know her, but a good friend of mine is called Nurit Beled. She's an Israeli academic, and she wrote this book about Israeli school books and the way from a very early age Israeli kids are brainwashed to think, they're surrounded by animals that want to kill them. And then at 18, when they finish school, they're given an M16 and they go to the occupied territories where all these people want to kill you. So you can understand the process of, dehumanization and stuff. But how do you get out of it? It's like a psychotherapy session.
Yeah, we need it for sure.
I feel like the narrative that I was brought up with, I'm also from like a liberal Zionist, leftist household, but also religious, like spiritual and religious, and
which is not that common, we need to say, right? Like both religious and leftists. Like,
yeah, it's not as common, but in Jerusalem, I feel like there is a big community of religious, spiritual people who like Judaism is very, very something they're very passionate about. But it's so mixed with Zionism that that was something that I really had to deal with, of like how is my Judaism and Zionism, how does it work together? And I feel like the household I grew up in was also very, traumatized by the Holocaust, because my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor, and my grandmother also, and the idea that like Israel is our liberation. It's like it's what is protecting us from the anti-Semites. I feel like that's what I grew up with very much, and that the Arabs are also that. They're just a continuation of the Nazis.
It's the modern form, right? It used to be the Nazis, and now it's the Arabs, and anti-Semitism is this evil monster that changed forms in different times in history.
Yeah.
Have you seen the? I mean, he's done this a few times. There was this speech by Netanyahu 9 years ago, who said that sometimes he talks like Trump. Says Hitler was a bad guy. I mean, he was a bad dude, but he wanted to get rid of the Jews. He didn't want to kill them. Then the Mufti of Jerusalem came to Berlin and told him, if you expose them, they'll come to us. So why don't you kill them all? So Netanyahu is planting the seed to make people believe that actually the Holocaust is more a Palestinian than the Germans, which is mad, Yeah.
Yes. And I was sent to like dialogue groups with Muslims and Christians as a child, even in an attempt to make peace, but it was completely not political, and sort of had this weird idea that we are the wars are just because the different religions need to understand that we are all the same, and that is the difference between us, that they believe in Jesus and they believe in Muhammad and we believe in God. I don't know. And it took me many years to understand that that's not real. That's not what's going on here. And for me, my awakening process could happen only because I lived outside of Israel for a couple of years. I lived in Germany for 4 years. I was an opera singer, and I was there, and I think my first sort of understanding that something is wrong was just returning to Israel for a visit after 2 years of like COVID. So I wasn't in Israel for 2 years, and sort of experiencing just the society as completely crazy. Just after being in a place in Germany, which for me it was like, this is the land of Nazis, and sort of coming back to Israel and being like, everyone here is so angry and so mean, and just from like a social level, being like, oh, maybe this is why I've always felt like I don't belong here, because I'm like too sensitive and I'm quiet and I don't like yelling at people or being yelled at. And now suddenly like something is wrong. And then, and before that trip also, it was the war, the onslaught on Gaza of May 2021, which was the first time that me and my partner, who also came with me to Germany from Israel, we looked at the news and tried to read the news from other sources like Al Jazeera, and sort of being like, oh, there's a completely different narrative here. This is not a war on Israel. This is Israel just like demolishing Gaza. And something different, like just understanding that something different is going on. And it was, this understanding also came together with like waking up from capitalism and understanding colonialism, like the whole bigger picture, and then the micro picture of Israel as being part of this, you know, empire of United States, etc. And sort of, and it was heartbreaking. It's still heartbreaking. Like sometimes I wish I was still in the bubble of Zionism, because it's just so much more, it's so less lonely.
Yeah, and I guess this is what holds Israel, but also other colonial societies and stuff together, right? This like cognitive dissonance that I'm sure a lot of people are aware that if they were to welcome the truth, it will shatter so much that it's easier just to say, no, I'm right, you know. And something you've said is quite crucial for people to understand, I think, that you only in a way realize how wrong things were when you were outside of Israel. Because I don't know if people realize, but in Israel, you don't see Palestinians. I mean, the wall is to supposedly protect from terrorist acts and stuff, but it's also, they're hidden, you know, and I guess the news for the last 16, 17 months, if you didn't have, and you don't anymore, have access to Al Jazeera and stuff, you don't see the horror, right? So it's, in a way, it's like this thing that you put away, like in all colonial, in a way, enterprises, you know, the colonized is hidden, you know, and you think it's okay.
Sometimes I feel like when you look at history, how it's developed until that moment, it's almost, it was like things were set up in place so that genocide will be a welcomed possibility in Israel's mind, you know, because Gazans used to work inside 48 Palestine in Israel, but then they blockaded them, you know, and like they're separated and more separated till like in Israel's mind it's like this kind of monsters. They're not, you know, the connection that there used to be some, you know, connection that helped to see them as humans, but for most Israelis it's like these creatures that live behind this wall. And I feel it's also, you know, I don't know, like being here in the days of the 7th of October, like people went nuts, you know, everywhere here. We felt it's the doomsday. People all around me were packing bags, you know, it's invoked both, I think, the Holocaust trauma and the settler unconscious fear of the native that revolves to take, you know, it's all came together and everyone was...
So it either got people to fight or flight. So people either got the hell out or went into Gaza with like eyes blazing and just like, we're going to kill you for doing this to us.
Yeah, how dare you
do that? My initial instinctual response when the sirens went off on the 7th of October and shit started going down, I was like, Gaza is going to pay for this. Yeah. Like, I knew this is what's going to happen. I was like, I'm going to be okay. I knew this. Everyone was like so scared and going, and I was in Jerusalem at the time, and yeah, it was like sirens and bombs, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? But I was like, I had this vision. I was like, I'm going to be okay, and everyone in Gaza is going to die. Like, that was... I just knew it. Yeah. I was like in this different mindset. I was like, this is what's going to happen. And then when it was actually happening, I was like, I have to stop this. I don't know how, but I have to stop this. And already in like the first month of the war, I was trying to get peace activists to work together to be like, we have to stop this right now before any soldiers go into Gaza, before this gets any worse. Please, 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 let's stop this. And it just didn't fucking work.
Yeah. I remember when it started, and I had not experience obviously, but I had experienced, Operation Cast Lead in 2008 and 9, and then 2012 and 14 and 21. So in a way, I also knew this was going to be worse. But I don't know, deep down I felt, it's because it started so crazy, like from October the 8th was like mad carpet bombing. And I was like, they can't do this for like months. It's going to last a few weeks, like Operation Cast Lead and stuff. The international community at some point could say, oh, guys, it's okay. You had your revenge, and your vengeance. But a friend of mine, a Palestinian friend of mine, and he's probably the only one who told me a week after October the 7th, Frank, this is going to last. This is, in a way, the opportunity for Israel to complete the job. They're going to go crazy for months. And I was like, no, there's no way. It's too hard. I mean, France, the US, they're not going to accept this. And he was right. And I can't imagine, because I can imagine the trauma of October the 7th for the reasons you've explained for people in Israel. But I can't imagine how it was back then. You said people went crazy. I remember the last time I went to Israel, Palestine, which was in 2010, because I was then denied entry for 10 years. You'll have to ask the security guys. They interrogated me for like 6 hours at Ben Gurion and then told them I was lying to them without ever explaining why and what was the lie. And then they denied me for 10 years. So it was 2013, so I was denied until 2023. And I was actually supposed to come back in October, on the 15th of October, 2023. So obviously it didn't happen. But anyway, I remember you talked about this aggressiveness in Jerusalem in particular. And I remember, because I had been in 2007 and then 8 and then 9 and then not for a few years. And I remember going, oh my God, this society is so tensed. I felt like a fight could explode at any time, not between Arabs and or Palestinians and with everyone, and I guess it just only got worse, right?
Yeah, but it's like, you have the boiling frog effect when you live here. Like, you don't notice how horrible it is. You don't know. And that's how things are normalized here, like, I think like the concept of normalization is, usually it's talked about, people saying about normalizing the occupation through, empty peace gestures and stuff, but it goes deeper than that. It's like how Israelis are used to normalize things that are horrible for them as well, like seeing soldiers. You go on the train, there's sometimes same amount of soldiers and civilians, and you think how ridiculous it is when you talk about this human shield thing. Like, if someone would apply it on Israel, like all Israel would be gone. Like, half of the society is soldiers, like, and you grow up and it's like normal,
It's normal, and you're also proud.
You're
like
proud,
you look at the soldiers, it's like, it's our boys, it's our people, and they're oh, good for you, and where are you serving, and I served here, and everyone is like, it's a soldier, it's an army state, like it's a military state, and when you don't want to be part of that anymore, it's like, and for me, the most shocking thing was a few weeks after the 7th of October, just seeing the propaganda machine working its magic of having the slogan of like, we will win, together we will win, of like calling the Israeli society to be united against Gaza. And it's still fucking everywhere. You have a billboard with like, oh, there's going to be this concert and that event and this is it, and together we will win. It's just everywhere, constantly. And it just, for me, it was like being in Nazi Germany in 1939, because they took a symbol which is the Israeli flag, with some kind of slogan, and just made it something that is everywhere, and it's on your receipt in the supermarket. It's, for me, it was like, it's just Sieg Heil. And the fact that people are allowing this to happen, it just seemed to me like everyone lost their mind or were under mind control or something, and it's still really really disgusting.
Do you feel like the do you feel people realize, because it's a fact now, how isolated Israel is in the world and Israelis are in the world? A lot of them can't travel because they were soldiers in Gaza. There's a cultural boycott. Do people?
Yeah.
So I'm always wondering. Obviously, a boycott can make people realize, fuck, we're doing something wrong, or because of the brainwashing and stuff, can just people are even more certain that they were right? That we told you we are isolated. We told you everyone hates us.
Yeah,
And I guess this is more what's happening now, right?
yeah, just the narrative of like everyone hates us and that's why they're doing this to us. It's anti-Semitism, it's the Holocaust, nobody wants us. And sometimes I'm like, maybe it's kind of true. I don't know. Sometimes I also think like this story, it makes me angry, it makes me frustrated. I'm like, guys, wake up. And I'm also like, this is so sad. This is just tragic that a society that experienced genocide, like my family experienced genocide and survived, and they just wanted to be safe and to have a place where they can live their Judaism and have a nice home and have an upper middle class life, and just the fact that they cannot see that this is causing other people to suffer. It's just tragic. It's sad, and I also feel a lot of empathy to the people who don't see this, or who still feel like, oh, we are still the victims. We are always the victims, and it's like, yeah, kind of. I think we're all victims in this story. But I feel like to take myself out of the victim place and to take responsibility is what I'm choosing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Did
it's
you?
hard.
Yeah.
It's like, Edward Said thing. He said we're victims of victims, so
Yeah.
it's kind of.
And do you guys feel safe, like in Israel? I mean, safe. Are you completely ostracized, or do you have a community? And do you feel it could be growing? We are now more than a year after October the 7th. That's the future. I mean, the future is bleak everywhere, not only in Palestine, Israel. It's very bleak. But as we were saying at the beginning, we have to hold on to, to the smallest of victories. But do you feel like your voice could or can be heard, or right now it's like it's just you and your 5 friends, and that's it? 5 friends. I mean, I'm joking, right? But yeah.
No, we were just 5 friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just five.
We were just this group of 5 friends making podcasts and doing things in our home, and maybe like 4 more people showed up. And no, it's just it's I think also the community that it is speaking our truth are very tired. I think we're all very exhausted. I mean, even the people, demonstrating for the hostages to come home, I think they keep doing it, but I think everyone is just utterly exhausted and under, we all have to work, we all have to make money. And I gave birth 2 months ago, and I am working every single day to keep my daughter alive because she's having difficulty eating. And so have been isolating myself, and I'm back in my parents' home and in Zionist culture, and I'm just like, I'm lucky that my parents don't hate me completely yet, but they're really protecting me, they're helping me, and I'm sort of like in danger of falling into like the sleepiness of the Zionist liberal bubble. But then, Elik comes and he's like, hey, be with me, and I'm like, okay. Someone take the baby.
I feel you have an important voice to your music. I think, like, it's always. I haven't been like, my family also accept me, even though I made a song that says that all of them supporting genocide, they're still like acceptive family, and I think I'm very lucky. Like, I know people who their family will completely
Disown them.
and it didn't happen in my case. And I even feel like my father, after I did this song, wrote an article that said, like, he's still a liberal Zionist, but he beginning to realize stuff, and my mother is even getting more radical. So because we're together in this and they support me, so there's also a good thing by staying in touch, like, but I had moments, that I was fuck everybody, everyone here are like, why do I need to explain that killing kids is wrong? It should be the first, this should be the first understanding, and from there we go on, right? And like sometimes I think, what is this discussion even? What is, but
yeah. And I've also experienced that the trauma is really deep, because if we have time, I would love for us to sing another song that I wrote and I recorded. And if anyone wants to hear it, it's on Spotify. And it's basically me taking the slogan "From the river to the sea" and turning it into a prayer for water and peace and abundance. And when the album came out, and I asked my mother, like, what did you think? And she said, that song triggered me, because when she hears "From the river to the sea," for her that means we want to kill all the Jews. And the fact that I tried to do something else with it didn't even transfer to her, because the trauma is really deep. The fear of the Nazis coming and murdering us all, the Palestinians coming and murdering us all. And it happened, the 7th of October was Palestinians coming and murdering families. Factually, that's what happened. But the narrative is just filled with so many layers of trauma that I don't know if we'll ever be able to heal, honestly. It's so deep.
And there's no willing to accept the wider context,
Yeah.
It's like, I tell people, like, listen, okay, 7th of October, it was horrible. No need to deny that, Of course, like, there's also a lot of denial here about how many people was killed by Israeli forces. These people don't want to hear, even if it was published in Israeli media, which is crazy, But still, there was a lot of horrific things happen. But but Palestinians experienced it so many times, especially in Gaza, and every time there was a bombing of Gaza, it was as much, more people died than in 7th of October, but somehow it doesn't compute. I don't know what's...
Yeah, but I guess what you guys are doing, and congratulations, by the way, Ayelet, for the baby. It's we have to keep going and keep trying, and we plant little seeds, and if you convince or help make one person realize that maybe there's something wrong, hey, you're doing your part. But it's extremely tiring. I can't imagine how tiring it must be, and sometimes I guess it's humane for you to feel like, hey, let's fuck this, I'm okay. But it's a question also. I listened to your podcast, not your podcast, but you were in, I forgot now, with Gabor's son. No, it was you, Elik, and Alon, I think. Asbara. Yeah. When you said that, and you said this in the song as well, that, I will free you, you will free me. Calling for freedom will set me free. And historically, it's happened, in former colonial, enterprises and stuff. But it's such a long and lonely process, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to say, because I also said this to Elik before, that what we're experiencing is exhausting, it's isolating, but we're also okay.
Yeah.
And the people in the West Bank and in Gaza are really suffering. They truly cannot feed their children. They don't have a home. They don't have water. They don't have food. And what we're doing is for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like as long as I can feed my baby, it's hard. It's a huge struggle, but I can feed her. And every time I'm like, and the women there can't fucking feed their children, and they're freezing to death. It's like it shatters me. And so we're telling our story, but I don't want this to be, our sob story and everyone being like, oh, you guys are such heroes. Like,
of course, yeah.
we're doing what we're doing because what's happening like an hour away from where we live just is catastrophical. It's terrible. It's terrible. And I don't know what more we can do, and probably we can't do more. And we've been saying ceasefire from the beginning, and the only way there was a ceasefire was when Trump became president, which doesn't fucking make sense and isn't actually helping anyone, because he wants to take over Gaza and make millions off of it and kill everyone that's there. And so I don't know what more we can do. Sometimes I'm like, the powers are just too strong. They're too strong. But then we're like, no, but if I sing this song, then maybe someone will hear it, and then someone else will hear it, and then someone else will hear it, and then people will just, their hearts will open, and something will fucking change. I just know that I'm gonna do my best to protect my daughter from being a Nazi. I'm just gonna do what I can to make sure.
This is the one person you're going.
The one person. If I can protect her from Zionist society, from believing that she has a right to live more than anybody else.
But that's also a thing, you know. I'm thinking sometimes I want to live here because I think even if you are anti-Zionist, you can send a kid to a school and he will be influenced by his friends that they all go to the army. And, you know, teenagers want to be with their peers, not with their parents. And I know cases like this, so it's also, you know...
Yeah, that's why we're not sure we can live here.
Yeah, the pressure of the group, and in your case, it's not even a group, it's a nation, is so strong. I remember talking to Ilan Pappé, I guess you know Ilan, his name, right? The Israeli historian, who told me...
His book, by the way, was the most significant thing for me to
start, like, But I remember, like, this was, I'm really shit with dates and time, but I think it was about 10 years ago, maybe a bit more, when he told me, like, Frank, one of my kids is turning 18, and he told me he wants to do his military service.
Oh my God.
Ilan's son. You know, so you realize that, it's so powerful, you know, the pressure of the society. But guys, I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate us talking. And I guess we could talk for hours and hours. But I want to give you, I want you to do the song you were talking about. So let's do the song and then wrap up, and we can do episode 2, 3, 4, 5. You know.
I want to say thank you so much for what you're doing. I really listened to all of your interview. The last one was amazing with this writer. What's his
Omar El-Akkad.
Yeah,
his book is really amazing, and his book is like this conversation we're having. It's so deep. I loved it so much. Yeah.
So keep it up. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks guys. So what's so this song's got a title, or
this song is called Prayer for Water, and it came to me when I was in Germany in this past summer in an artist residency. I was standing in this beautiful little stream of water with a contrabass player who was playing. We were under this bridge, and then suddenly this song came to me as is. And then a day later, I read in the news that a water source in Gaza, in Rafah, was destroyed. And that just broke my heart completely. And so this is a prayer for water, because we can't live without it.
Thanks.
From the river to the sea.